Hey, this is Ken.
And this is Joe.
This is Kenjo.
We are Kenjo around. All right. Well, hey, this is Joe.
This is Ken.
And we're
Joe Ken around. Get it?
Gets them every time.
Yeah, it's a joke. I like jokes. Joe, who's your favorite joke maker?
Oh man, this could go really deep. I see why you're going for this one.
Oh, it's just a question.
Oh, okay. Well, favorite joke maker, like current or just like all time or like.
However you want to answer that.
Okay, thanks. I'm glad you actually prefaced it that way because my favorite comedian is actually Jerry Lewis, the late Jerry Lewis.
Jerry Lewis.
Yep.
Short for Jerry Lewis. I don't know his full name.
Yeah, now I'm just thinking Jerry Lee Lewis, but that's like his son who became a musician.
Yeah,
I don't
maybe.
know. I'm really gonna get that all messed up. So I don't want to.
That's the same guy.
I don't want to go down that. Yeah, that's a different.
Jerry Lewis. Yeah. Okay. Wow. It's an old guy.
Yeah,
right?
He's
actually passed now.
Yep, he's passed on. He was one of the greats on this planet that I always wished I could have met, and didn't really, get the opportunity. It wasn't like there are other people that I feel like I could have met and kind of like missed the opportunity. With him, I don't think there was ever a connection to go meet him or anything. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But I definitely always wanted to. I idolized him when I was a kid in a lot of ways. He's a hard one because I think a lot of people who don't like him maybe don't understand him.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I understand that his humor was meant for a different era.
Well, how so?
That was also timeless, by the way.
Right. So we grew up watching Jerry Lewis movies.
Correct. Yeah. Oh man. So I always remember Mom saying like Ben's humor was, for instance, I remember this. Ben
is another sibling of ours.
Sorry,
we mentioned that last.
We talked
episode.
about him just lightly in a couple episodes. Yeah.
Just so you guys
older
know
brother.
We're talking about that.
Right.
Yep. Continue.
Well, Mom always said that he really liked the wittiness of like the Bob Hope kind of era kind of stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, and that's, I do too. I mean, it's awesome. I remember watching those movies. I remember watching, my favorite were still the Jerry Lewis ones. I think there was just a little bit of that emotional side that he would bring out, and I like that. Like, I liked having the ups and downs in his movies because he would be very crazy, of course, as people remember him, but he also had his very serious moments, and in those serious moments I felt like I could understand some of the things he was going through.
Do you think that his range was bigger than other comedians?
Exactly. I would actually state, I'll stand by this, and it's fine if we got some crazy comments, but that he was probably one of the most talented, if not the most talented comedians.
Well, he was definitely the
ever.
highest paid actor.
Yep, he was
in Hollywood in his time.
Yep, I remember that.
He wasn't just the comedian, but the highest paid guy in his prime.
Correct.
At the time.
He brought a lot of the big things. So when I say like, he was one of the first to push the limits in, let's say, color, in when it came to cinema, stages. He
bands.
Yeah, bands. So his sets and things like, he was like, no, this isn't big enough. This isn't powerful enough. I want to go really, really big. And he was kind of known for that. I'm sure there were people who were almost annoyed by it because nothing was ever good enough. Was kind of how he was. Yeah. I think that had a lot to do with
any great person, actor, athlete, writer, you name it. A lot of them are not generally super well liked. Some of them are well,
like
let me
generally
back up.
well liked.
Yeah,
maybe,
back up. So a lot of them have tics or personality quirks that people find very off-putting. But because of like Michael Jordan,
sure,
he could be such a jerk to some people
Like
competitively.
yeah.
Because that's what drove him to become the greatest.
Exactly.
Without that edge, you know.
Yep.
And so I think that kind of applies to Jerry Lewis as well. Like, so, you know, some of the other people I think in that time, you mentioned Bob Hope, but Abbott and Costello, the Three Stooges. Three Stooges are probably a little bit before that.
Sure.
They kind of, I think their dynamics, the Marx Brothers, the
Laurel and Hardy.
Oh. Yeah, and yeah, but we go back
all
that
these
far
guys.
back.
I'm sorry, I pushed that way
No,
too
that's
far
really good.
back. But they are. You talk about iconic. Are you kidding me?
If I was gonna have to pick somebody besides Jerry Lewis, I'd probably go to that comedy duo,
of course.
Laurel and Hardy.
Masters.
Just the unspoken mime characterizations that just make you laugh without saying a word.
Yep.
Do Mr. Bean as well. Mr. Bean takes it back to that.
Yeah, he's a modern day, right?
He's a modern day
like
Stan.
Exactly. He brings all those elements. Even, and I know that Jerry Lewis borrowed some of those concepts. You know, everyone borrowed from like Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah. So, now we're gonna look way
now
back
we're just
and like,
and then Adam when he was created. No. Anyway, but honestly, you know, and I'm sure every generation's going to have that, and then the next comedian and the next, and in their eyes, they're going to see. So that's just how it is with me, and I understand that. Yep. You know, I'm only going to be able to draw from my childhood on a certain level as to what I like, and that's why I give you that like 100% when you say Laurel and Hardy. Hey, they might be the best of all time.
Maybe.
And I totally agree. But it's a lot like the other day I was watching, I'm just going to bounce around, and that's just what I do, sorry. But the NBA, right? And people were talking about the greatest of their eras. So there's that kind of concept too, because of course I liked Magic Johnson a lot. Right. Having you know, Michigan State roots with our family and everything made it a little extra special. But a lot of the NBA players themselves were all talking about how if you went to that era of Magic Johnson and of course Bird, you were going to end up with probably one of them as your like number one pick for. Of course, they called it different things because nowadays it's different, but because he was such a tall point guard at times, right? And he played every position. But anyway, that to me is kind of how I'm viewing this. When you say, so he's still my favorite, but if you go in heavy into the Jordan era, you're going to be tough.
So there's Jordan. There's a difference between like statistically somebody who's the greatest and somebody who is the best.
Of like their
of your emotional connection and era.
Yeah.
So era wise, I think there's some people that just don't work in eras. Like you can't cross era thing. That's the greatest debate of every sports thing ever.
Yeah, that's why it goes on for forever, right? They're going to say that about LeBron. They're going to say that about LeBron and Jordan now. And just by me saying that, literally right now, with our 4 listeners, they're going to have a fight about it,
probably. Does LeBron have any fans anymore? I mean, the guy's kind of trash. I don't know. That's just me. That's just my personal opinion.
You're allowed to have a personal opinion. You're allowed to have,
and
that.
I will be shot on the way home.
There you go.
There you go. You have your personal opinion. I have my bullets,
and you're dead.
No, it's not that bad. I really. Having grown up in the 90s,
he's a great player. But
having grown up in the 90s, like. It's there. It's set in stone. I don't remember who said it. Somebody probably can look it up or whatever. But I think it's at some point early on in your life, you're kind of set the way you are when you become a man or a woman, and you're kind of set on you're always going to be trained to your heritage or whatever. And that's why we're spending a lot of time talking about our childhood, I guess.
Sure.
Or why kind of keep pushing it that way, so people understand who we are and like the fun parts of like what we think is funny.
Oh, so much comes out of that, right? So, like everything.
And that's where the brother connection here is hilarious, because we'll say things that nobody will ever understand. Because
it does happen.
Because we've seen a lot of this old movie stuff, and our humor is like derivative of that.
Yep.
So something will happen, something will be funny, and we just die laughing. And this includes all the brothers and my sister, and anybody else that grew up with us at that point understands that, okay, This is on a different level. We have no idea what they're laughing about, but we do, and we have a great time with that. So I'm trying to like build a pathway to understanding some of our humor. And what will happen later on in this podcast that I'm sure people are going to be like, "What are you talking about?" And we'll have to explain.
They're already doing that. I'm sure.
Yeah,
they're like, "What did I just listen to?"
Cite these movies, for instance. Some of the funniest things were not from these amazing, great classic productions. You know, some of the funniest things we've ever seen are like some podunk movie that was very poorly made, and that's why it's so funny, or like some like corny Disney stuff way back in the day. Like stuff I find hilarious is the old Dexter Riley Disney movies.
Oh man,
like the computer wore tennis shoes.
Yes.
The strongest man in the world. Like it's this kid at college and he gets into these shenanigans because something happened. The invisible man, or the invisible. What was
that one? Oh,
now you see him, now you don't.
Okay, and the computer wore tennis shoes.
Don
Don Knotts, the ghost one, Ghost of Mr. Chicken.
Oh yeah, Don Knotts too.
Apple Dumpling Gang. Different things of that nature that definitely. Kind of like conjure
dog
up.
Just slobbered all over my arm.
I was watching it happen as it happened.
I wish we had a camera running right now. Wow, your dog has a lot of slobber.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, Ken.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. I've got my daughter's in here as well. She's watching us do our thing here. She's like, "What are you doing?" But that's fine. We're talking about humor here. We're talking about how people develop their humor, and this is where we got a lot of our
That's
roots
where we got a lot of it.
Out of it. Yeah.
And we can go back even further a generation. We talked about dad. We haven't really talked about mom yet, which we will. But if you go back another generation to the grandparents, oh boy, if you want to talk about the dichotomy there, the difference between the sides. But kind of leading into a little bit, Grandma Grace.
Okay, yeah, so that's on Grace, mom's side.
Her maiden name, or her name is, mom's maiden name is Ortega.
Yeah, there you go.
Grandma's maiden name was Colindres, but anyways, she would tape all this old stuff. I think it was her that was a big part that introduced
by archiving all this.
Correct, because Grandpa Dan would always record stuff, and the fights and all that stuff. We kind of grew up in a different era, I think, and I've forever been grateful for that, because it was such a good, like, clean, die hard, laughing, fun, to grow up in. And there was like an endless collection of it.
And there were like stages. It's like you got the context for that day's humor as well. Because how many times, I'm going to reference something, by the way, right here, and everybody's going to be scared, but don't be scared. But there's a Family Guy moment, okay, where they show the Jerry Lewis version of him singing, and he's got a cigar, and he sits down at the big table, where the board meetings happen, right? And he puts his feet on the desk, and a Count Basie classic, which is like a big band jazz group.
See, and we watched the original, what they're referencing to.
Exactly. We knew exactly what was happening. And I even think that, what's his name? I almost said Seth Meyers. That's not right. Dang it.
Talking about the creator?
The creator of Family Guy, for instance.
Seth something.
All I'm trying to say, Seth Fargan. Farting.
Seth Farley.
Fargan. What am I saying? Wow, just mock me in this one. I'm terrible at talking.
I don't remember his name.
Seth Farley. No, Seth. Oh my goodness. Anyway, moving on.
I have to look it up.
Yes, you have to look it up.
I have to look it up.
All I'm trying to say is I'm not condoning any humor of any kind. I'm just saying that a pile of dog slobber. That in today's era of humor.
Joe, can you have a pile of liquid?
Yeah, it's called a bucket.
It's not a pile, though. It'd be a bucket of it, right?
Oh, man. I don't know. Could you get like a magnetic liquid? Then you could probably get it
Seth MacFarlane.
See, I almost had it. Farley. Okay. I was saying Seth Farley. What in the world? Anyway, I didn't mean to get too crazy with it, but all I was trying to say is today's context of humor is oftentimes born out of and reliant upon, of course, some of the original, sketches. And it happens all the time.
Yeah, people reference stuff that...
Yeah. And I'm not saying that he was saying he was original with it. A lot of artists all use things like that all the time, and that was on purpose. And I think he even knew when he wrote it that the generations that knew where that came from were only going to find it, very fascinating.
Yeah.
But this is what I'm trying to say. I'm almost at it. I know it took forever to get there. I apologize. But the younger, I remember somebody showing it to me. Okay, this is where it all makes sense.
Yeah,
okay, I know it took me forever to get here, but this is when it blew my mind. I was like, you know what that is, right? And they're like, yeah, it's Peter Griffin, whatever, being funny. Like, what do you mean?
This is hilarious.
Yeah. They're like, isn't this so good? And I'm like, it is really good. You know why it's really good? And I pulled up a YouTube video where someone else threaded them exactly together. And you just kind of realize that, there are some things that don't change to humor. There are some classics that have that thread.
Right.
I know he comes into a room and he goes, "Ma," and and it annoys people. I totally get that. But there is this originality power that some of these guys made him so great.
There are some things that are just always funny.
Yeah.
And we don't mean like the same joke that you tell 12 days in a row and still laugh at, which, that might be us. But
sure,
we're talking about things that as they get passed down to generations and somebody sees it for the first time, will continually laugh at. And I think that's what makes somebody like Jerry Lewis so timeless, is because you can go watch some of these old movies. You can go pull them up and watch them with very little context. And there might be some stuff where he's throwing out names of like certain people that you're like, I have no idea who that is or why it's funny. And mom and dad are laughing, or grandma and grandpa are laughing. You're not laughing because you don't understand it. But then there's other parts where the entire family's laughing. My 2-year-old's laughing, My 2-year-old. And grandma's laughing at the same time.
Yep. Now you're talking Laurel and Hardy, Charlie Chaplin. I mean, silent films? Are you kidding me? Now, and someone once told me that silent films are not silent films. Actually, it was in the John Williams special. So I referenced that special in the last podcast. I love doing this. I love threading this because now people have to listen to the earlier podcast. But
it's all part of the evil plan.
But the whole point of, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, he was the one who was told by someone else, silent films are not silent films because they have music.
Oh yeah.
Now, and so you start coupling the power that some of these people utilize with their acting and telling stories. That's what they're doing. They're just telling stories, even if they're very quick-witted little sketches. They're telling many stories, and some of those stories are just absolutely amazing.
And you know what the things that get translated today, modern day, is, even though it's like some of it feels like cancer sometimes, is like Vine videos or TikTok videos,
right? Or
little 7-second clips that people that are actually good, people that I say quality content.
Well, they can tell a story fast.
They can tell a story in 7 seconds. And some of those things that I've watched, that's the stuff that everybody shares. That kind of humor is more, I would argue it's more alive today than it ever was, because that's literally what our diet is on Facebook. It's literally an image with 2 sentences on it.
Yeah. Memes and
that's what it is. It's the same thing, because you're taking a funny situation that we all understand and you're cluing somebody in on and making it satire and sarcastic and funny, and because we understand what they're saying and the image just clashes so well that you laugh. You literally LOL.
I think you're onto something. I think you should roll with this in some way and call it social media,
the circle of comedy.
No, slapstick humor mixed with social media.
Social slap.
Social slapping.
We've already done that. We've already done that.
I've been socially.
I think it's
slapped.
in Ecclesiastes where the Bible's like, nothing's new under the sun. It's all been done before.
Social slapping.
Social slapstick.
You gotta add that in.
Yeah. But it has.
What would these people be like? Like, what would Charlie Chaplin be like on Facebook?
Right. Like the brilliance that they have.
Exactly.
Like there's some people that are very, very, very
Maybe they could
funny.
just take it to this whole other level. Or would it be like stripped from
Did
them?
you have a funny friend growing up? Or were you the funny friend growing up?
No, I wasn't ever. I kind of wanted to be, but I was pretty awkward like growing up. Like when it came to social events or
I feel
the
like
class
I was kind of the same way. I wasn't. I mean, I think at
really
times I tried to be, or maybe I was funny a couple times, and that's like the only thing
here
I remember.
and there. Yeah.
But I remember specific funny people. You know, that maybe it was just a certain era, or maybe it was a couple years, but like they were just always funny.
Joe Stinson.
For you?
Yeah, he was just the class clown, man. He could do it. He could pull it off. Whatever it
just
was.
Funny all the time.
Yeah, and you know what? It was like I understand it now looking back. It was this like unabashed like confidence, even if it was like ill-founded confidence. It didn't matter. He would just roll with it, and that's where he created. I totally get it now. His worldview back then was, you know, if they don't laugh at the first joke, tell the second one.
Oh no, that's such a bad. I mean,
it sounds terrible,
it's
but
funny. It sounds like a bad formula for like the worst comedy night ever. I just see a guy going up there and he's like, "Hey, how y'all doing?
Hey, set of jokes, see?"
And then he's like, "Well, they didn't laugh at the first one. I'll go on and the second one."
With a terrible another joke.
No, but I understand what you're saying. Like he would work at getting to the funny bone.
Yeah, he'd be like, if it didn't click entirely, he's like because if you let the crowd see you sweat, so to speak, I've heard that said before, that's when they start to feel uncomfortable for you and they don't like it anymore. So they want to boo you, right? If you're bad, I would, right? You want to have that like moment.
You would boo people?
Well,
you ever booed someone, Joe?
Oh yeah, totally.
Like live in person? You ever booed somebody?
Not a comedian.
Legitimately?
Not a comedian.
I'm trying to think if I ever have.
I'm trying to think, like teams and stuff. You know, I remember when it was really tamped down a lot, like in high school. They were like, "Don't you dare boo at the other team." But later on in life, I think I kind of
events.
Yes, sporting events.
At sports ball.
Sports ball goal unit things. I scored. Yeah, I don't know. Like it wasn't like some kid in my class got up and sang or something, and then I booed him. I don't remember anything like that, but you know, someone who wasn't a part of your squad, your team, whatever, and it's almost in a joking fashion. I know I've done that before, and then I also know on the big stage of sporting arenas.
Have you ever gotten booed at one of your performances?
Oh, one time I thought I heard one. It was at a college, but it got overwhelmingly swarmed, and I don't know, you know, like by people cheering.
Oh, okay.
So I heard somebody kind of like that, you know. I couldn't make out. It was literally while I was singing and painting, and it was right at the end of my song, which was patriotic in nature, and of course right at the end of that, you know, it got overpowered by USA. So I don't know what it was that was said. It could have just even been like, "That's awesome," you know, but it sounded more like a boo. But aside from that, I don't think so. I hope it doesn't happen or anything, of course, like anybody, but you know, I feel like at this point in my life, I'm a lot more ready to accept some of those things than I was as a kid, for instance. I knew that was coming, so I thought, sorry, you got something to cut now, but
that's okay.
That was
go through all of it.
That was L making some noises. Anyway, so no, being booed, man, that as far as I remember or can think of, not really anything too crazy. Definitely booed a few Michigan fans though.
Uh-oh. We better cut.
That's for the next
time to cut.
That's the next episode. Don't do it. Don't start it.
Can you tell us a joke, or can you tell us a funny clip or something from an old movie? Could be a Jerry Lewis movie, could be something else that we could all go to maybe set up a little bit of context, but something that you could go to right now and find it, watch it, and pretty much, they say that, hey, when somebody shoves a video in your face and say, this is going to be funny, you're going to laugh. That no matter what, you're not going to laugh because you're so annoyed.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you could pick a funny clip from an old movie that would just make somebody laugh, kind of regardless who they are, where they are, whatever, how old they are, what would you go to as your
what's
funny?
You know what stands out? Two things, if I can have two. And they're both kind of weird. Like, I didn't think I would think of these first when you first started talking about it, but anyway, I'll go with it. The first one would actually be Laurel and Hardy. There were two of them. One was where he's hiding a document. Do you remember that? I don't remember which movie though.
Oh, yeah.
So I can't tell you how to find it, but it's basically he's just laughing. Wait, that would be Stan.
I think I know what you're talking about. He has
like a woman, deed to something that's worth a lot of money.
Give me that deed.
And she's trying to, and he puts it in his shirt, thinking like there's no way, and he makes that funny face with a grin, and she like locks the door into the bedroom, and he's like running around yelping like he does. That I can't do it. That is probably one of the most hilarious scenes I have ever seen.
Slow panic and dread that comes on his face.
Oh, and then the continual
the
fight.
The crying, his face is like...
The actress, you can tell, she could not keep it together.
She's laughing the whole time.
Yep. And that you could... It doesn't ruin it, though, because
that's a good one.
Okay.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah, that was A. Okay, that's part A. Part B to the Laurel and Hardy would be their silent... Oh, and the new movie that came out, you can watch them do this scene. Have you seen the new movie? I did
watch it. It's very, very good.
Wow.
It's sad because it's real life.
Right. It's their true story.
And it's toward the end of their career. But man, those guys did awesome.
When they did the quiet scene, are they waiting for a bus or like trying to find each other through the house? You remember that part?
Okay.
It's kind of hard to explain even, but basically it's a timing thing where that one starts walking around the corner and the other one's like going through the door.
Oh, yes.
And it's all quiet. That one is phenomenal from a vaudeville / stage.
Stage presence stuff.
And that speaks volumes
because towards the end they did all their stuff live on stage.
Yep, because they were like, they wanted to do more movies and all.
Yeah,
I don't want to get all
it. Yeah, so because it was made for stage.
Exactly.
Like you said. Yep.
So there's just, and a lot of the greats pulled from stage acts, right? Because of the power of live, like in time rhythm and motion that you have to do. No effects,
right?
Unless you're making them yourself. Okay, so there's that one. The other one would probably be, believe it or not, out of all the things, man, I keep bouncing around, but I'll just go with, since I'm such a Jerry Lewis guy.
Yeah, let's hear a Jerry Lewis one.
There's one from It's Only Money that is really good. And I want to say, but to be honest with you, my favorite one is probably the dance scene in Cinderella, which isn't quite as you described, and I can't help but I can't get it out of my head, so I apologize. It's not necessarily funny. It's just one of the most amazing scenes. At the end of it, apparently, I don't know if this is 100% true or if it's been embellished, but at the end of the scene, some people mentioned that Jerry Lewis actually injured himself a little bit. And he went all out so much that he might have had either a heart attack or some form of like stroke almost at the end of it. Yeah, but it was the dance routine of him coming down the steps in Cinderella.
Yeah.
And I love it because I love big band, and you got Count Basie Orchestra on that massive set, and he's coming down, and it's like this vindictive moment. Just like in Cinderella, where she finally gets her opportunity.
Where she comes in and tries to murder everybody. Wait,
not that kind of vindictive. I shouldn't have used that word. Thanks for bringing that.
No, not vindictive. I know what you're trying to say. You're trying to say it's a satisfaction moment.
Yeah.
A completion, like...
It's all been riding up to this point.
Everything was against me, and now I'm here.
Yep. I have a really big lean towards any movie or even a sports team Go sports teams who are underdogs, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, that would be probably one of my favorite. It's really fun to watch him create the dance moves that he does, and it's fun. You got the really pretty lady, the princess, and he's like, some of the lines are hilarious when he has to talk to her,
Yeah.
And that movie in general has a couple moments that you can bounce from that scene, if you will. If you get that in your blood, just watch that scene, get a taste for it, if you will, and then watch the movie. You'll probably laugh. That
movie
hard.
Also has Ed Wynn in it. The Mary
master.
Poppins laughing Uncle Albert or whatever. He's in that. He's the fairy godfather.
Dude, and you just mentioned another great who gets copied in the King Candy.
Oh, right. In Fix It Felix.
Wreck-It Ralph.
Wreck-It Ralph, yeah.
When they go to Candyland. King Candy. Yeah. Don't tell me they didn't try
it even looks like him.
Yeah.
He's got the red nose and...
Yeah.
Yep.
It was probably an honor. All right, your turn. I went way too long.
Oh, man.
You got to hit me with...
I got to get a funny scene that anybody can watch.
Sure. Okay.
That
funny scene, right?
That anybody can watch and laugh at. Oh boy, that's really difficult. I would have to do I would have to do another Laurel and Hardy.
Yep, of course. It's gonna come straight to that.
And it's gonna be the scene where they're talking about. Oh, I'm trying to remember now. They're talking about getting a boat or something. It's the Utopia one. It's the Utopia movie.
Wait, are they they're
the ship? In a boat or something like that. And they're talking about a life raft. Or something like that. And I'm probably getting it wrong. But that's okay, because this is how I remember it.
No, you're right.
And Stan and Laurel are talking about it, and Ollie is explaining to Stan how it's okay. We're going to be safe. We have a lifeboat. And he's like, I can't fit in there. It's this tiny little thing. He's like, it blows up. He's like, it'll expand. And he's like, how can 4 people fit in that? He's like, it expands large enough to fit 4 people. And then Stan says, well, what about me?
Oh man, I can hear his voice, and I can't do it well. But
instead of Ollie getting mad and hitting him like you jerk, how he usually does that, he goes the other way with it and gets very serious. And he's like, "You don't have to be insulting," and then kind of does his little pout thing, playing with his tie, and then makes Stan cry because Stan's like, "Ollie, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to," whatever. Because it's such a human moment
what about me?
And it's just such a funny.
That's so good.
Part that sticks in my mind because it could have gone the Three Stooges way, smack them, slap each other all the time.
Ow, boink.
Yeah, boink, boink, which is still funny to me. Like, I love Three Stooges. It's hilarious. But you can only take so much of that.
Yeah.
One-dimensional.
Yep.
So that's it for me.
Dude, that's just been classic. I mean, one other one. I'm just going to throw one other one. Like, if you're a listener on here and you care about anything that we've said, you're probably totally with us anyway. And you probably know this reference. But who's on first is, if you actually watch the original version that you can find on YouTube, I will tell you that you will be laughing. Like, I'll give you $1 because that's all I own basically at this point. But I'll give you $1 if you can not laugh throughout the whole thing. Because, I mean, come on, man. That's another one, that just hits you in a certain spot, and you even know what's coming. Yeah, you do. I know it's been done and overdone, but I can't help but think about it. Yep. Like it's and the way they work together, though, that's that chemistry aspect. A lot like Laurel and Hardy, even Jerry Lewis with little mic touch. Even Jerry Lewis with Dean Martin. Yeah. They had certain types of chemistry that came through. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there too. Like,
I think if we summarized all of that together, like every comedy thing ever, the reason why it's funny is because it draws from real life in some way, some emotion, some circumstance.
Yep.
A lot of the more modern stuff is like, hey, I was on an airplane, or hey, I was in the coffee shop, or real life stuff. That's what Seinfeld was. Seinfeld was like 100% like finding the humor in everyday life. He made an entire show about it, just
worldview.
Yeah, going to the dry cleaners and, whatever, driving a car, parking a car. You literally could make an episode out of everything. He made an episode that was about them making an episode about nothing. And it's one of the funniest episodes ever. He and George go pitch a show to NBC.
Yes, I remember
it's a show
that.
about nothing, which is literally what the show is that they're doing.
I know.
Just genius.
It's genius level. Yep. It is. And it's so simple, but it's not just about the simplicity. It's keep it simple where you can, and then embellish around it. They're just wonderful storytellers.
You can bring somebody's mind to find the humor in anything.
It's how you get there.
Yep.
It's how you got there, man. The truth, the nugget of truth.
I think that's the timeless part about, if you want to say comedy. I think that's kind of where we got to now. Yeah. That's what makes it timeless.
Oh man.
Yep.
I'm cool with bringing it kind of together and finalizing this episode along those lines if it were me, because you've got
mind blown. We have solved the comedic thing or whatever.
Well,
no, absolutely.
Hey, Wallace and Gromit. There you go.
Wallace and Gromit. Wow.
Dude, right? I think they implemented some of that.
Yep.
Where there's a lot of quiet with the dog. There's that almost silent film kind of, you hear sound effects and everything, of course. But just the interplay between...
I mean, the claymation was amazing, too.
Oh, my gosh. Just beautiful. We'll go to the moon where there's cheese, Gromit. And he's just like looking at him. The eyes, the way they capture all the eyes. And people, we're just embellishing, once again, what people actually do. And people who are good at embellishing what normal humans act like are really good comedians.
That's the impressions factor there.
Jim Varney.
Jim Varney. Oh my gosh. I can't believe we haven't talked about
his
face comedy.
And he's real 50-50. Like, people love him and hate him.
Yeah.
But we obviously loved a lot of what he did.
Oh, we grew up on Ernest.
Yeah. I loved it.
Oh, okay.
Still do.
Oh man, like the pen scene in Ernest Goes to Jail.
Are you kidding me? Is there a problem, sir? No.
And literally that entire scene is just something that happens to him.
Yep. Little prop, little story.
Oh, the pen's leaking, and how do you take care of it? Well, he poured it all over his face and then decided to clean it up with a piece of paper. Didn't do anything but spread it and then put it in his mouth and chew on that.
He's just going to town.
Finally, the judge is like, "Excuse me, sir, are you all right?" And he's sitting there with ink all over with his hands folded, chawing on a piece of paper,
full of ink all over his fingers.
It's so hard. I feel like I'm gonna gag talking about it. He's like, "Oh, just fine, thank you." 100% lunatic, and he's sitting in the jury of this court.
Goodness.
Brilliant stuff.
And he's on the case, like exactly.
And he's the one judging people. Oh my goodness.
Even his character Vern seemed to have like this next door neighbor vibe, right? That people use. There's another case where everyone has that guy, that friend, that annoys them, but he made you invisible and became the friend that annoyed you.
Yes.
But he displaces you into this third party called Vern. When he opens the door and it's you, so you're Vern. And he's like opening the door with the Christmas
Vern
tree.
Hates him.
Right. And he slams the door in his face. That's just Vern. He's that's my buddy Vern.
Yeah.
And it's just, once again, it's a beautiful perspective change on life. It's just, everybody has that person.
The difference between Mr. Bean and Jim Varney, obviously there's talking and stuff there, but like the physical humor that they do is very similar. Mm-hmm. The difference is Mr. Bean is a horrible person, and that's what's so funny because he's so selfish, and that's what's so funny.
I never thought that's true.
He's a horrible person. That's what Rowan Atkinson described him as when interviewed about the Bean character. Is that he's just at the bottom. He's just kind of a nasty, selfish person. And Jim Varney, they're utterly annoying to the sense of like they'll make you lose your mind. But Jim Varney was the opposite. He was way too nice, way too caring, way too in your face.
Where are we going? I found the jewels.
You mean to tell me that you want to go downtown in the middle of rush hour? They'll be crammed in there like animals or snakes. He's got snakes all over his face. Oh man, I love it. But I think that's because they're both funny. They're both hilarious. Some people hate Mr. Bean because he's so mean.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't like it. They're like, oh man, he just stole that blind guy's whatever. But it's funny because the blind guy goes crashing or whatever, you know.
So we just missed one more that I have to mention. You got to help me with this. Just a second, it's gonna hit. So you got the Pink Panther.
Oh yeah. Peter Sellers.
Yes, thank you. It was right there.
Peter Sellers.
Peter Sellers, also a master.
That one, you can bust a rib with him, man.
Can I take your? Excuse me, sir. Can I take your coat? He proceeds to give him his coat and his hat. The guy goes out, gets in the car, and drives away with his coat. I mean, like moments like, and it's pretty quiet. It's just a few phrases. He also comes in.
Subtle.
This guy's like, excuse me, does your dog bite? He's like, no. And then he's like, oh, nice doggy. He was like, I thought you said your dog does not bite. It's like, that is not my dog.
It's not my dog.
Like, it's so stupid. I did a terrible job of it. I'm not trying to.
That's great.
Man.
Yeah, and he comes in and he's talking because he used the accent to create humor of like people don't understand his humor. His accent was so
French
bad.
accent, basically.
and he's a French native, but he speaks it so horribly.
It's terrible.
And he's going to the front desk to reception sometime, and he's like, excuse me, sir, you have a massage for me? He's like, oh, excuse me, sir, I don't give massages. He's like, a massage?
I distinctly remember.
You gave me one yesterday. He's like, excuse me. I don't give you massage. He's like,
a massage.
He's like, oh, you mean a message? He's like, yes, that's what I said, you idiot. A message. Oh, man.
Hey, now you just led me into one more. You're just so
connections.
That's been redone in the latest Pink Panthers. So to not be confusing to any of the younger generation who hasn't watched the originals, they may have seen the latest Pink Panther and Pink Panther
Steve
2.
Martin.
Steve Martin. Now he killed it, man.
Yes,
he
very
he
funny.
Killed it. I think so. I thought he was absolutely phenomenal. And of course, then you got to go into the other two that he played with.
Chevy Chase and Martin Short.
Yep.
In the movie The Three Amigos.
The Three Amigos, man. That movie, that one is, I think, going to stay pretty timeless as well.
That one is so funny.
It's another one of those, like, I really don't think, even if it's not entirely your style of humor in some of the ways that they're humorous, that was kind of blah. But anyway, you're gonna be hard pressed to not laugh at some point in there because there's something for everybody in there.
And I think the difference, because you're talking about like when things aren't funny for somebody and they're hilarious to somebody else.
Yes,
is oftentimes we want to bring somebody into an experience that we find funny, but it's really hard to because they're not in the same place as we are.
Sure. Yeah. Exactly.
And some things will be funny later. Some things aren't funny anymore because you're like, I know what the point is of that, and I don't find it funny anymore. So, but other things like that's what I mean about the timeless stuff is that like we can get together with the brothers, with the family, movie, and still laugh.
Yeah, that movie has timeless elements in it all throughout. I believe so. Yeah. And then it has some that are slightly more current and for our era, I guess I should say, and before. But
I gotta remember this funny part. Like they're if you haven't seen the movie, they're movie stars, they're old fashioned movie stars that get hired onto,
what would it be, like the 30s or something maybe, or 40s like maybe,
like these old like silent movie actors that they get hired
20s.
To what they think is a gig, but they're actually trying to protect this real life Mexican city against an actual like bandit.
This little village.
They're like take it again, doing all these things. And when they get there, all the villagers love them, and
they're like, oh, they're our hero because they actually believe that they're the three amigos that are like gun toting, fighters, and they're not. They're
actors,
weak actors.
And the little kid running up to him.
Oh,
you know,
man.
we've all had that awkward situation when a kid comes up and you ask you, just says something.
Everyone's
like,
quiet,
your
listening.
fly's down in the middle of church or something. And you're like, oh, thank you, little one.
Thanks for pointing
wish
this
you were
out.
a football, I'd punch you out the door, you know. But like this kid comes up to him, you know, they're like, oh, he's like, can I have your watch when you are dead? Oh my goodness, because to that the kid doesn't.
I like these guys. They are funny guys.
Funny guys. Yeah, oh my goodness.
Oh, there's so many lines. I think that could go for a while. That could be a whole nother episode, man.
Yep. And with that, we better stop, or else we're going to quote every single movie and not have anything left over for other movies, for other episodes. I mean,
for other movies.
Yeah, but yeah, I hope this gave you kind of a peek into a little bit more of our madness.
Maybe gave you some memories back if you're listening, right?
Or homework. I mean, I feel like I got a lot of homework. Hopefully you did your homework for last time. You're talking about John Williams.
Goodness.
But, man, I tell you what, there's a lot of comedy gold and just family fun. If you guys are looking for, like, stuff to do with the family, and that's probably what we'll talk about next time and talk about some family stuff.
Okay.
But like, because we were talking about grandma and grandpa and stuff like that, the dichotomy of like how different they are. But if you're looking for some like family fun, like take a trip to the 50s or the 40s or something, or you know, these old movies that are just kind of lost to time.
Man. Yeah.
That are gonna,
the greats do that too. All the greats do. They really do. The actors who are doing stuff today that are mesmerizing us, I promise you, I know this for a fact, that many of them are drawing so much inspiration from what we might think, it's too old. Yeah. I mean, they're just, it's beautiful. I love your idea. Yeah. Go back and watch some old movies.
It's true. Tell us about it. You can write to us. We'll have links and stuff for all that.
Oh, cool.
Where you can write to us. Yeah. And, you know, P.O. Box, blah, blah, blah. No, not actually that. Send us an email or send us a message.
We'll put the links in there.
Find us on social media. Send us some stuff. Tell us about your favorite old
and we'll draw
movie.
from that. Maybe we can even do some, you know how late night hosts might utilize some letters or something? Oh. Hey, maybe there's something there where we can read something. Yeah, so give us some content to play with. That'd be fun.
Hurry up because we're running out of it.
We're burning through it all.
Oh, we got too much content. That's the problem. But thanks, guys. Thanks for listening, and hope you guys found some fun. Us just joking around here today.
Nice.
And we'll talk to you in the next one.
See you guys.
Bye.